My name is Anna Smith-Spark. I'm the author of the Empires of Dust series, The Court of Broken Knives, The Tower of Living and Dying, and The House of Sacrifice, which are grimdark, epic, high fantasy. So, lots of bloodshed, lots of violence, lots of despair and grief and wails of death, but also extreme beauty, lyricism, poetry, landscapes, dragons. And I'm going to read you chapter 2 of The House of Sacrifice. Marith Outrazir, the king of all Elast, stood on the brow of a hill, looking across towards the city of Arummen. It was still early morning. Soft, pale light, pink and golden. In the valley, the scent of wood smoke, the smoke rising to blur the light. Birds wheeled in the sky, turning, twisting like outstretched fingers. Reminded him of Thalia's hair. They called harsh and lonely. Hungry, cold, fragile things, moved in the sky, turning and turning. The cries muffled by the ringing of a blacksmith's hammer. Wheeled and called, flew off to the east. The sun caught their wing beats, black and white in the sky. The hammer rang out loudly. Then silence. Waiting. Marith turned, looked down the hillside. Austin Field, the Lord of Third Isle, the Lord of the Calin Mao, Death's lieutenant, captain of the army of Amrath. His best friend. Austin rode up towards him, a young man, dark and handsome, but for the scar on his face. Marith, they're waiting for you. Marith rubbed his eyes. From across towards the city came a distant rumble, a flash of white fire against the city walls. The birds rushed back overhead, black and silver, singing. He took a long drink from the bottle in his belt, watched the course of the birds across the sky. Oh, gods. Austin pulled up his horse beside him. Beautiful morning for it. I think it might snow. Do you? A bit early in the year for snow. Thalia would like it. The men wouldn't. No, I suppose not. But it would be beautiful. Snowfall, don't you think? Austin said, Are you ready then? Looked back over the morning landscape. The hammer rang again. Smell of wood smoke. Another distant flash of light against the city's walls. Dark cloud twists of birds rising afraid. He drank from the bottle. I suppose I'll have to be. Swung himself up onto his horse, a white stallion, saddled in red and silver, red ribbons plaited in its tail, gold on its hooves, sharp bronze horns decorating its head. Austin brought his own horse to fall in beside him, reached out and their hands touched. Third time lucky? Third time lucky. They kicked their horses into a gallop. Amrath! Marin shouted. Amrath and the Outrazir! Death! Death! Before him on the plain the army of Amrath stood to attention. Bronze armour, bronze swords, long iron-tipped ashwood saris spears, helmets plumed in red horsehair, dark-tempered bronze over staring eyes. Horses armoured and masked, heads like skulls, blinking, blind to everything. Red standards fluttering, raw and bloodied, dripping, screaming, weeping over the army's lines. In the sky above, 2 dragons circled, red and black, green and silver, huge. Shadow beasts danced around the dragons, formless-faced, long-clawed. The army of Amrath, waiting, all of them, waiting for him. Marith rode along the front of his army, Austin at his side. He drew his sword, raised it, shining, the morning sun flashing on the blade. White metal engraved with rune signs. The rune letters burned in the sunlight. The ruby on the sword's hilt glowed scarlet. Blue fire flickered down the length of the blade. Hencat, Mai, Eth, Ri, death, grief, ruin, hate. He shouted to the men, his voice loud as the sword's light. Soldiers of Amrath, my soldiers, twice now this city has resisted us and betrayed us. Now, today, it will fall. An explosion shattered against the black walls of the city, white fire silent as maggots. White fire, silent, and then screams. The wind caught his cloak and sent it billowing out behind him, dark red, scab-coloured, tattered into 1,000 shreds of lace. Dried blood flaked off it. Fresh blood oozed off it. It stank of blood and shit and rot and smoke. He wore his silver crown, but was otherwise bareheaded, the morning sun bright on his black-red hair. His skin like new-spun silk, smooth and perfect, gleaming. His grey eyes soft like a child's eyes, soft pale grey like moths. "Destroy it!" Marith shouted to his army. "Destroy it, tear it down, let nothing be left alive." "Amrath!" the army screamed back at him. "Amrath and the Outrezier, death and all demons, death, death, death!" Columns of soldiers began to move forward. Siege engines hurled rocks running with bane fire. Mage fire, white and silent. Dragon fire, glowing red. The beat of war drums, clamour of trumpets. Voices chanted out the death song, slowly, slowly moving forward. Slowly and steadily, the drums beating, fire washing over them, rocks and bane fire loosed from war engines on the city walls. Falling, dying, trampled by those behind them, slowly, steadily marching on. Long, long ranks marching towards the city. Destroy it! Destroy it! The only thought in all the world, in all their minds. The dead zone between the city and the encircling army. Broken bones and ruin and dead men. Bane fire, mage fire, dragon fire, war drums and war trumpets, and now, loud and urgent, the thump of battering rams against the city's gates. Warships in the harbour grappling, storm rising, towering huge dark waves. "Amrath! Amrath! Death!" Waves of men breaking against the city, waves of water, waves of fire, waves of death and pain. Snow began to fall. White flakes caught in Marith's shining hair. Break it, down, down! Ram smashed into the terrene gateway, again, again, again. A tree trunk thicker than a man's arm span carved at its end into a dragon's head snarl, covered with bloody ox hides to keep it from catching fire. Obscene, comic, pumping away, in, out, in, out, in, out, steaming, dripping, bloody, battering, pounding, raping iron, wood, meat. 3 huge siege engines hurled rocks and bane flour, machines on the walls hurling rocks and bane fire back at them. Marith circled his horse, making it rear up, gilded hooves sharp like knives. "Break it down, now!" A shower of boiling sand poured down from the battlements. Soldiers collapsed, screaming, clawing at their eyes. Inside their armour, burning, in their hair, in their mouths and eyes. The bloody hides on the ram hissed, cheers from the Aramese's defenders above. The ram swung again, then, off to the left, a blinding white flash and a dragon's roar. The gate groaned, splintering, shadow beasts gathered, a clot in the air. Shapes twisting, forming, dissolving, huge, shapeless, dark, beating, shrieking wings. They dived together, claws and wing beats, jaws opening, faceless, clawed limbs tearing down the stones of the wall. "Now, now, break it down!" Marith's horse reared, trampling snow. Red-hot sand showered down around him. His horse screamed in pain. Fire arrows thudding as the battering ram, his soldiers' bodies piling on the ground. The sky roared at him. 1,000 screaming, raging mouths. Another flash, The dragon howled. The men fell back, shrieking in fear. White light rising up before him. Spear shape. Cloud shape. Shining. Grass green eyes opening, staring, hands reaching for him, numberless beyond counting, in every hand a sword with a blade of white light. Odd thing. Life thing. A demon conjured up to protect the city, the great high holy god of Aranmen, whose temple was gold and green bronze. Bastard thing. Twice now to beat him off. Get the gate open, now, the ram! His sword was shrieking in his hand, red light, red jewel at the hilt, winking at him. Glittering, red light like the red light of the star, for the fire star, the king's star, his star. There's your star, Marith, and there's mine, look. A red jewel, the sword forged for him in the Tower of the Eagle, back before he was truly king, forged in blood and ashes, forged to look like the sword the first Amrath had owned. He'd had a sword before once, with a red jewel in its hilt. He had named it Sorrow, and this sword he had named Joy. Marith charged his enemy, so tiny a man-shape on horseback, throwing himself headlong towards this towering, raging maelstrom of light. Break it behind him, the ram started, drumming on the gateway. Break it down! Break it down! The siege engines loosed all together. The machines on the walls showering sand and rocks and bane fire back at his men. Mage fire. Dragon fire. Dying. Marith, King Ruin, met the light god with a crash.